Ready to supercharge your profits and revolutionize your business in just 2 days? Then you need to be at the Power Profit Workshop.
If you're struggling with profit margins, KPIs, or pricing strategies, then this workshop is designed just for you.
And leading the charge is none other than the virtual CFO herself, Kristen Deese. She brings the strategies, tools, and hands-on guidance to help you master KPI tracking, benchmark setting, and team accountability.
But this isn't just another sit and listen event. We're rolling up our sleeves and getting real work done so that you leave with actual tools and strategies that you can implement immediately. Plus, I'm bringing in other industry experts to help you crush your goals.
And because you're a loyal Freedom Blueprint podcast listener, you get a special discount.
You're going to use code FREEDOM at checkout to save on your registration.
Seats are limited, so don't wait. Go to powerprofitworkshop.com and grab your seat today.
Let's make more money faster. See you at the Power Profit Workshop. That's powerprofitworkshop.com to get registered.
Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome to Freedom Blueprint Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, then that means the studio worked and this recording worked. Kristen is hanging out with us today, and if you follow the podcast on a regular basis, you know Kristen is my amazing wife. If you don't follow the podcast on a regular basis, one, you should, and two, this is my amazing, awesome wife, Kristen.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome for you to come hang out. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about mindset and business. But before we do, I want to talk about what we got going on right now. We're in a new studio that has been a very fun / frustrating project. And it's still not 100%, but I think it's probably 80-ish.
80?
90?
Yeah.
Or are you thinking 70?
No, I'm feeling higher than 80.
Okay, good. All right. So we'll go with 90. We debated it,
That's
and you're
an
right.
A. 90 is an A.
So, fun fact, when I was in school, that was not an A, that was a B.
Wow.
So
That stinks for you.
I know.
That was an A for me.
I know. They're like, you have to have a 94 to have an A. Like,
That's insane.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Whatever. So anyway, so we're in the studio, and we've gotten to learn so much about audio and video.
And lighting.
Lighting. Oh my gosh. The lighting part has been big fun.
I never knew how much money you could spend in studio equipment.
And then I went and bought studio equipment.
Well, and we're not even like medium end studio equipment.
So
it's insane. Like the cameras and just the money that you can spend on this is insane.
So a little funny story. Jared is a friend of ours who runs the Wealthy Plumber Group. And he, ironically enough, lives right down the road from us. And he came out to the house and we were looking over the studio, and he's like, well, I'll send you some links to some stuff. And he sends me the cameras that he uses. And if you follow Jared online, and if you don't, you really should. He makes amazing videos and the quality is outstanding. And he has invested a truckload of money.
Well,
he's like, here's this camera. And I was like, my first car wasn't that expensive.
So I felt this early on, like I was thinking about it early on, but I just kind of confirmed all of it is you can invest $1 billion in equipment, but if you don't know the foundation of lighting and the foundation of all of the different settings on your cameras, like if you don't have that knowledge, I mean, you could spend a crap ton of money on equipment and it's still not look very good. So there's finding that balance between whether or not to invest in the high-end equipment, but also making sure that we know how to like appropriately operate it.
And we're learning, right? It's a new skill, and it's just like anything else. You have to put in the effort. You've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the time. You have to do some trial and error. Sometimes you have to invest money that doesn't pan out quite the way you hoped it would. which we didn't plan this, but that's a perfect dovetail into what we're talking about today, is really about mindset. So mindset and mindset of running your business. And when we talked, I'll say this, generally when we do a podcast, we kind of, from a super high level, talk about it. We're like, ooh, that's a really good topic. And that's kind of it. We kind of write it down and move on. Sometimes we have notes. We've got a couple notes here. But it was just one of those things where we're like, oh, let's talk about mindset and the difference between really the businesses that have been in business for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're still at that owner operator mode, or they're at that, the owner's in the truck, or they're at that 4 truck hump or that 8 truck hump or 12 truck, there's always those different growth humps. We just thought that would be a really good topic to talk about today. And before we jump into it, I do want to say this. What we're going to talk about is not made to hurt anyone's feelings.
No, we would never.
It's
never do that.
but sometimes when you hear the truth, it stings a little bit.
Yeah. So we both have spent a lot of time and energy and focus on really the fundamentals of coaching. And there's a lot of times what comes up from that is that as a coach, sometimes it's our job to hold up the mirror. But we don't always like to see the reflection that we get when we hold up the mirror, right? So, but the cool thing about it is because we are in the perspective that we're in, because we're outside of the view there, it's easier for us to see that high level picture when we're not in it, right? So when we talk about stuff like this, sometimes it's really just enough to be on your level of awareness. And then sometimes when it's on the level of awareness, that's enough to be like, oh.
I mean, awareness is one of the most powerful tools out there, because once you have the awareness of it and you're like, oh, you know what? I am doing this thing that is not helping me drive my business forward, or what personal life forward, or whatever it looks like. That's kind of the first step in order to go, okay, well, now I have to be conscious about, I'm doing this thing that's not getting me the result that I want. If I'm good with what I'm getting, then I'm fine to keep doing what I've been doing. If I want something different, I'm going to have to make some shifts in what I'm doing. So, anyways, that was kind of the disclaimer, I think, of.
So what we wanted to talk about today is what we've noticed that's different about the business owners who are going from 0 to 1,000,000 miles an hour in a very short period of time, and those that seem like they're just kind of like stuck at a certain business size for a really long extended period of time. I will say that sometimes we'll every now and then we'll talk to a business owner who's like, you know what, I'm good here. I don't want a big business. I don't want to grow crazy. I just want to do my thing, and I want to like make a little money, and that's cool. Sometimes that's being said, but that's not really what they want. It's just an easy to say, well, I'm good with it. It's the size that it is right now. But sometimes it's actually authentic,
Well, and I think it's, but sometimes it's, people get jammed up on, at the end of the day, it's your business, right? So if it's your business, you can run it however you want. So if you hear something from us or someone else that you're like, I don't like that, I'm not going to do it, it's your business. You could do it or not. Like it's just information that people are trying to share. And there's nothing wrong with, I don't want to use the word stagnant because I feel like that has a negative, but there's sometimes where people have a business and they're like, man, I'm really good at the spot that I'm in. I don't have a desire to have 100 trucks or a $50 million company or any of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, we circle back to the awareness. You've made the conscious effort and you have the awareness of, I don't want to have that stretch or have that time. Because listen, sometimes it's better to have a smaller business with more money than a bigger business with less money.
Absolutely.
That's a huge conversation. So I want to shift the question to you because we look at businesses from a different angle. So, being the virtual CFO and knowing that you work with so many businesses from the financial side of the businesses, what are some things that you feel like hold up progress or growth or whatever it is there?
I would say that from the financial standpoint, the thing that holds businesses up is going to be deciding where to spend money, especially from the overhead standpoint. So it takes money to make money, but
Show does.
but figuring out where is going to be the best place to spend the money in order to help in the growth is the challenging part. And there's a lot of times that I'll see business owners who seem to be spending money in the areas that are not going to help the business grow. And so, overhead is the biggest area for that. There's this weird place in business growth where when you're really little and the owner can do a lot of the things, your overhead is really low because the owner can do, or owners can do a lot of this stuff. But then you get to this area of growth, like between the $1 and $3 million revenue range, where it's really, you're bringing in more money at the top, and all of these opportunities to spend money start to arise. And we go to shows and we see vendors and we do all these things. And we're like, ooh, that looks like a cool service. That looks like a cool feature. And we start buying stuff. And then if we don't increase revenue at the same time that we do that, what we end up doing without really realizing it is just cutting into the net profit. And so and then you get to a point where you have these services that you've invested in and you're like, well, I can't run the business without them. Like I need them. And so you kind of get to a point where you don't have a choice but to grow revenue in order to be able to cover the overhead services and stuff that you've invested in.
So I think it's easy to forget that this industry that we're in, of the home service space, and that whether you're plumbing or HVAC or garage doors or whatever, this is not a new industry.
It's been around longer than like the internet
and cell phones. And I mean, I can remember when we first launched our first home service business. God, this is going to make me feel old, but I mean, there wasn't GPSs yet. There was cell phones, but way expensive.
Scheduling software. We were writing schedules out in a book, like in a
hair salon.
It was a book that I bought from a hair salon supply place where you could like write out everybody's schedule on there. So, and our orders were coming in via fax.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. We'd come in Monday morning and be just paper.
Yeah, paper all over the place.
Not gonna lie, it made me pretty happy though.
There's still companies out there who are running their business without software. Now, by no means are we suggesting that you should not be running your company using the latest technology. But as business owners, there's this thing that you're all familiar with, I'm sure, which is the shiny object syndrome. And it's really easy to get drawn in by that kind of stuff. And so, that it's between those upgraded things that we get lured into as business owners. And then sometimes it comes down to how much money we personally are drawing out of the business too. That kind of keeps us stuck where we are. So if we're as owners pulling out too much of the business, then there isn't too much funds from the business, and there isn't enough cash to reinvest back into what growth could look like, because we are having to get another van. We're having to spend the money in payroll to get somebody trained up and develop the training program in general. And, there's a whole lot of things that come with growth. So if we're pulling too much out of the business personally, then there isn't enough funds left over in order to be able to cover growth.
So I think that's a great topic that I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into. Before we do, I'm going to go back just a second to the technology side of it. You'd mentioned you go to shows and you're like, I've got to have this thing. the people at the shows that are showing you this thing that you must have, like, let's not forget they're selling you a product or service. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We all sell a product or a service. But just, again, to go back, cell phones weren't a part of this industry not that long ago. I mean, 25 years ago, most people still didn't have cell phones. GPS in every vehicle wasn't really a thing. GPSs of the vehicle wasn't really a big thing at the time. So there is certain things that you do have to run your business in the day and age that we're in, right? Your techs have to have cell phones. They really should have tablets. You need to GPS your trucks because that's $100,000+ of your stuff rolling around. You want to know.
Well, and all of that stuff aids. Like, we want to be able to look at, again, virtual CFO. We want to be able to look at the return on investment.
Yeah, right.
So all of those services and features are great. And the whole point of them is to help you become more efficient as a company so that you are able to generate more revenue as a company. So if you're investing in all of these things, but you're not turning around and generating more revenue as a result of it, then you're not getting your return on investment. And so that's kind of where it is use the technology for sure. Use the technology and just make sure that you're getting return on investment on it.
Yeah, make sure you have the capacity to implement whatever it is you're investing in. So I do want to give this example. There is a newer technology out there now that is the AI recording when the technician enters the home.
Which, how cool is that?
Personally,
from an AI or from a return on investment, the option or the opportunity that you have from that, you are not paying somebody to ride along with that person to do, my gosh, you have the opportunity there to have that be a major return on investment.
Right. But, but one of the things is that is a big initiative that if you're a 3-truck operation and you don't have somebody who can manage that process, you're going to struggle and it's going to be hard to get an ROI. I'll give a good example. Levi Torres, who's been on the show multiple times, and actually for any of those that are coming to the event that Kristen's sponsoring or hosting in May, he'll actually be there as a speaker, which we're really excited about. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But he was one of the first people to roll it out. And Levi's he's an early adopter and an implementer. That's cool. And so I was like on the phone with him on a regular basis, like, how's it going? Give me the good, the bad, the ugly, give it all to me. And, one of the things he said was, man, if you don't have somebody to implement it, you're done. Like, you have to have someone implement it. And if you don't.
Well, the same goes for these big softwares too. The big software, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody who is an expert in that big software, who makes themselves the expert in that big software in your office, and you're not fully implementing it, then the up to thousands of dollars a month that you're spending on it, you're not going to see the return on investment.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to put in the time, effort, and energy to be able to actually implement it fully to the extent that it's intended to be implemented.
Yeah. So again, any of that technology that you adopt is fantastic. It is great, but you've got to make sure you have a plan. You can execute it. Somebody owns that project. Doesn't matter what it is. Make sure that somebody is owning it, or the captain of it, or whatever verbiage you want to use, and that you're checking in as the owner. If someone else is the one captaining that program, make sure you're checking in on a regular basis and ensuring that you're getting an ROI. Because you see a lot of times people will get into this new technology and they'll sign a contract for, let's say, a year. And then at month 3, they're like, I don't have the capacity for it. You should have done some training on the front end of that to make sure that you had the capacity for it. And I get it. We all make this, and I'm right there with everybody. Like, I've bought lots of stuff that I'm like, oh, I'm going to crush it with this. And then 4 months later, Kristen's like, how's this thing going? I'm like, what thing? The thing that's hitting the credit card every month.
That thing.
So anyway, I thought that was a great topic, and I just wanted to make sure to kind of drive that point home of technology is fantastic, but you have to be able to implement it, and you have to have a plan to roll it out, and it has to have an ROI. Like, that's kind of the steps of every time you are going to invest in something like that. So let's go back to what That was my short detour.
Yeah, that was a short one.
Squirrel. So let's go back to, you were talking about the owner comp, basically, to kind of sum up what you said, because I think that topic comes up a lot. And I think it's worth, because, sometimes people don't know and they're like, well, I'm running this business. I feel like I should make $200,000 a year or whatever.
So I've seen two extremes. One is the owner doesn't pay themselves at all. And that's usually in the very early stages of the business because there just isn't the funds to do it. Right. And then I've seen the other side of it where the owner's pulling a lot of cash out of the business in a variety of ways, whether it's through payroll or draws or home improvements that are run through a card. Like there's all kinds of ways, like whatever, that we're not even going to go down that road. But
and part of that is the benefit of owning a business.
Correct, right.
Let's say that.
And it can be hidden too, like in the owner's truck payment, even though that truck is probably not actually running calls, and the owner's car insurance and the owner's cell phone. And
I drove to Home Depot the other day.
It all is technically part of the comp plan, and it's really easy for that to add up pretty quickly without you realizing it, which a lot of times can be cut into the overhead. And then there's the conversation of salary versus draws versus, running certain expenses through the business. And so one, I will say that I have to throw the disclaimer that I'm not a CPA and I do not do taxes. So you always want to confer or consult with your tax advisor. But a lot of times what we'll talk about is there's a certain portion of your pay as an owner that you need to run through payroll if you are in the day-to-day. If you're in the day-to-day operations of the business, the government wants their taxes. And as an employer, you pay a portion of payroll taxes on all of the wages that you pay to your people. And so if you are in the day-to-day, then you are an employee of your business. And if you're an employee of your business, you need to be paying yourself through payroll. And a lot of times what we'll talk about is you pay yourself a reasonable salary of what you would pay somebody else to do your job. For two reasons. One, because you can't pay yourself minimum wage through the payroll and then turn around and take the rest of it at a draw because the government says, well, obviously you would pay yourself more than minimum wage and they want their payroll taxes. But the other reason from that managerial accounting side of things and what we look at the virtual CFO is if you ultimately and eventually want to work yourself out of a job, you need to make room in your budget for somebody to do what it is that you're doing. And the only way to do that is to be paying yourself what you would pay somebody else through payroll, because then as you're doing your financial analysis every month, you are building the cost of that into your budget now. And you know what your revenue needs to be, and you know what your gross profit needs to be in order to be able to cover the overhead, including your payroll, to be able to get to the income that you want. And then if you, as the owner, want to take more money out of the business after you've run yourself through payroll, like you would be paying somebody else, then do it as a draw. And really that needs to be like, if you have a great quarter and you want to do a draw, cool. This is the part that turns into the mirror of reflection. What we don't want to do, though, is we don't want to cash starve the business because we as owners have high personal expenses. So if we as owners have really high personal expenses, if we have a high mortgage, if we have a lot of credit card debt, if we have high vehicle payments, we can't have the company fund that at the cost of cash starving the business.
Yeah. Well, and so let me tell you what I heard.
Okay.
And I'm guessing most of the people listening are me. You got to pay yourself something because you have bills, you have to live. So there has to be something that you pay yourself. But for me, my goal, right or wrong or whatever, I want to pay the least amount of taxes humanly possible. Humanly possible. And I won't go down that rabbit hole.
There's a reason that I write the check to the IRS because if you wrote it, it would never get
What do you mean? Checks in the mail. You didn't get it? Weird. But when you're giving money in taxes and whatever unnecessarily, that's funds that you could be using in other places your business. So again, we're not CPAs. Every state's different. Every situation is a little bit different. And when you start your business, or even as you have your business, which most of the people listening already have a business, there's some things you've got to have in your court to protect yourself. And one is you need an attorney, not a high-powered whatever, but you need an attorney. You need a good CPA, and you need a good CFO. Just throwing that out there too.
Shameless plug.
KristenDeese.com. So, anyway, so we can. I think that's a good point, because that people do a lot of times. They're not quite sure. They're like, well, how do I pay myself? And I think everything in your business needs to be run off a percentage. I mean, that's numbers don't lie. And if you're taking out 40% of the revenue and your salary,
so
you probably aren't at that level yet.
Right. And again, from the confer with your tax professional, but what I would not, if it was my business, what I would not want to do is pay myself, we'll call it $300,000 in salary through the payroll company, because that's quite a bit more than I would pay somebody else to do it. And as the employer of that situation, I'm paying employer taxes on all of those funds. So if I reduced my amount of salary down to what I would pay somebody else to do it and took the rest as draw, I could at least be saving on the employer side of the payroll taxes on the difference. Now, you still got to pay the income tax, and you still, but at least I'm saving that little bit of tax payment from the payroll side of things.
Talking about taxes and government and the IRS really brings me down.
I know.
Really brings me down.
We can change the topic.
Let's change it.
Okay.
I would be excited to change.
Okay, so we're talking about mindset today, and the difference between those that seem to stay stuck for a very long period of time and those that are in a perpetual movement. Perpetual advancement. Not perpetual movement isn't always productive, but
busy is not profitable.
Right.
Yeah.
Perpetual advancement.
Yeah, I would say to me, when I see the difference in the two people, is normally perfectionism gets in the way of an owner-operator becoming an owner, right? Meaning they're like, well, nobody's going to run that call as well as I am. Nobody's going to take care of that customer as well as I am. And all that is great. And here's the spoiler alert. You're right. It's not going to happen. You're not going to find an employee that is going to care as much about your business as you do. I mean, I know we all want that, and that's our dream. And that's not to say that they're not going to get close. But at the end of the day, if your business takes a hit and you lose $100,000 a month, you might not take a check out of the business. My guess is your team is still going to want their money. So there is a different level of, I don't even know the word I'm thinking of, but buy-in, or not buy-in, but
Acumen?
No.
I will say that when we've talked about this before, I've always paired it with, that's why everybody isn't a business owner.
Right.
It takes a little extra grit to be a business owner, and that's why everybody's is not. But you can put in some safeguards and protections to help ensure that in as many cases as possible, the customer is getting the same thing that they would get from you. But
you still want consistency. And by that, I don't mean, well, okay, well, now you've hired technicians, you can let them do whatever and they can be jerks or whatever. That's not my point at all. You still have to have a system, and you have to train, and you have to teach them how to do it. Again, the challenge that we have in the industry that we're in is however many trucks you have, or that's how many brands you have each day. So you can come in the office and you train every day, and then when the technicians deploy, you've given them the knowledge and the training of what you want them to do. But then when they cross the threshold of that door,
it's like the wild, wild west out there.
It can be. Now, again, let's tie back to the AI. That could help with some of that in the future. But yeah, kind of what's let go of the vine. They talk about that. And in the EOS books, they talk about, let go of the vine. And that's part of it. You have to be okay with letting people do a job and kind of managing the outcome, not necessarily every moving part of it. And that's just a challenge.
What else?
Oh gosh. I'll say the not attitude, but the unwillingness to try new things. Right. So and sometimes it's hard, right? So if you're a person who is in that, let's say 4-truck hump stage, and that seems to be a big one for a lot of business owners is breaking through to that 4 and 8-truck hump. You're going to have to make some investments, especially in technology, in order to deploy more technicians, in order to deploy better products and services to your customers. You're going to have to be able to break out of that a little bit and be able to be okay with failure. As you grow in your business, there's ideas and things you're going to do that you're going to roll out that aren't going to work.
So I'm picturing a response that we've heard before if we make a suggestion when we're talking to a business owner, and the response is, "Oh, we tried that before and it didn't work."
Yeah.
So
or that's how we've always done it.
Yeah. So if you find yourself thinking that or saying that, instead of saying or thinking, "We tried that and it didn't work," modify that just a smidge. Have a little bit of a mindset shift that says, "We tried that before and it didn't work, but how could we try it again differently a little bit to see if we could get a different outcome?" So there's a lot of times that those that are stuck are in that mindset of tried it once, didn't work, never trying it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that you can't learn lessons. And there are certain things that come up that you're like, "Well, I'm never going to do that again," rightfully so. But that's not the case for everything. And so to be able to you kind of have to be coachable.
100%.
You have to be coachable to be able to say, "Hey, you know what? I did try that. I didn't love it, but if I were to try it again, maybe if I made this one little tweak, or if I looked at it from a different perspective, or tried it in a little bit of a different way, I might get a different and better outcome than I did the first time." So that coachability, is a big thing.
Well, the world is ever changing, and with technology, every day looks a little bit different. And again, that's not to say you have to be an early adopter on every single thing that comes out and rolls out, and you shouldn't be. But there's change that happens, and that's part of running a business, is that you have to be studying what's going on in the world around you. You have to be paying attention to the technology. Even if you're not implementing it, even if you're not deploying it to your team yet, you still got to be paying attention to what's going on. And again, to go back to this, like AI, I mean, that's the thing is you got to be paying attention to it. Now, whether you're using it on a day-to-day basis or whatever, that's for you to decide, but you still got to be paying attention to what's going on so that because eventually you're going to come to the point where you're going to have to utilize some of that.
I think another thing that we do as leaders in our business that actually help us stay stuck is hiring a whole team of people that are just like us. Everybody has a unique set of strengths and weaknesses, and the company is only going to elevate itself to the level of our ability as a leader. So if we're not doing anything as a leader to make ourselves better, and then we also go and hire a whole team of people that are just like us, is that the law of the lid? Is that what that is? The law of the lid, where you're like capping out at whatever your ability is, and that is all of the further that your business is going to go.
And if you're surrounded by people with the same either mindset or ability, there's no way to go out. I mean, that's why they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I mean, that's where that comes from, that's the truth. So you've got to always be looking for, not always, but you got to be finding people that are advanced further than you, which is why things like best practice groups are really important, or going to live training events are super important to do. That was your softball to plug.
to plug a
I feel like you were not picking up what I was putting.
Amazing live event that you need to be coming to. Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to know about that, powerprofitworkshop.com is the domain to go in there and check it out. And yeah.
Level up your leadership.
Level it up, baby. Level it up. So again, mindset matters. That I think that's one of the big differences between the companies that are growing and the companies that are not growing. It's the same as you see people that are wealthy and they lose all their money. And within 12 months, not only have they made their money back, they've made more money. And I think that is because they just have a different mindset. They look at it differently. And I think those people typically will look at that situation and go, okay, how would I do it differently doing it now? And I think for owners, that's tough to do sometimes, but I can remember an exercise. Okay, so this just came to mind. I remember an exercise that we did, and this is after we sold the first plumbing company that we had. And one of our friends said, okay, well, if you were to do this again, how would you do it differently? And I think both of us said, pass, which
maybe
for anybody listening, we did not pass. We did it again, but we sat down and kind of just as fun, drafted up a plan of what we would do. And it sat for several years. We didn't do anything with it. But then when we created Paradise Home Services, we basically dusted off that plan and went, here's how we're going to do it differently. And that's how we went after it. And that's how we were able to grow the business as fast as we were, is because we took the lessons that we had from the first time and what we kind of our non-negotiables. What do we not want this time that we want this time? And kind of went through the exercise. And I would say that worked out pretty well for us.
Yeah.
I think that was a good move. So, don't be afraid as a owner, as a leader, to take a step back, right? I think the big difference is the tactical versus the strategic, right? And I know we talk about that a lot, but the tactical is going to be that day-to-day, jumping in the truck, solving a problem, turning the wrench. And the strategic side of the running of the business is the sitting down and learning about technology coming up, or going to an event for training, or being part of a best practice group. I mean, that's all the strategic things. And you have to do that in order to run a successful business. And quite frankly, if you're like, I don't want to do any of that crap, I just want to turn a wrench, I just want to whatever, my suggestion to you then is go find a really good job. There is really good companies right now that pay really well. They have great benefits. They have amazing 401ks and health and whatever else, retirement, all that kind of good stuff. But if you find yourself with that mindset, you might be better off served to go do that, because otherwise, what are you doing? You basically own a job that you can't take vacation. You can't get off a day. Like, you're just kind of in that perpetual motion of working in the business and never on the business. So there you go. That was a good topic. We had to take a quick pause there, but I bet through video editing, I'm going to be able to, you won't even know.
Of editing, you won't even know.
I won't be able to, but anyway, so that part, that really puts a bow in what we wanted to talk about today is really mindset matters. And, how you go about running your business on a day-to-day basis is going to affect the growth and the people that you have around you. So any closing thoughts before we wrap?
No, I think that covered it pretty well.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for coming and hanging out. This is the first thing we've done in the actual studio. We did another podcast, but we weren't in the studio part of it. So this is exciting. More to come.
It is exciting. I'm excited to get our piece of furniture back there.
Yeah, we do have a piece of furniture coming. So
and it's cool. It's also the color of that wall back there, which, by the way, I think we both love. We've used it here. And we used it in the house. It's called Carbon Copy by Bear. If anybody's interested.
Carbon Copy.
It was a little scary at first because it's almost black, but I really like it.
It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Well, cool. Awesome. Thank you for coming and hanging out. And on the powerprofitworkshop.com, we'll have some notes in the show notes on there if you want to come and hang out. We've got some pretty awesome people. They're going to be there. This event is going to be a small group setting. So there's going to be a lot of kind of rolling up your sleeves and doing the work, not a talking at you kind of thing. So we appreciate it. And you guys have an awesome week.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.